This is our final element of TAE DES 4.1a, Design and Develop Learning Programs. This is week 2 of Evoke's Training and Assessment Certificate 4. So 4.1, break the learning content into manageable segments and document time frame for each segment. So here at Evoke, we create a training and assessment strategy. And in section 3, it actually breaks down into manageable segments. So we actually break it down into week 1, week 2, which you're in now, so that ends our design module. Week 3 and 4 is a combination of our training, of our assessment components. So that goes over 2 weeks. And over that 2 weeks, we're doing 3 units of competency over the 2 weeks and clustering them together. Then it'll be a delivery component week 5, and then our electives start. So what we need you to do tonight is you have your downloaded training and assessment strategy, and I want you to adjust that now for Susan's needs. So being a teacher with some credit transfers, perhaps what you might do is just plan for, and this is the planning design phase until we really get there and get past weeks 3 and 4 and fully understand her recognised prior learning, and just verify any documentation that she might have or third-party referrals. We're just going to plan at the moment that she would, as a registered teacher, get some or all credit transfer for workplace delivery, and perhaps we've previously identified some electives that would give her recognised prior learning. So you might want to adjust that training and assessment schedule specifically for Susan's needs and just finish her up at week 4 and then make weeks 5 to 10 about collecting her recognised prior learning and, completing assessments. That's the suggestion there. As for John, he has to have manageable segments to keep in mind his language literacy and numeracy. So when you're doing his TAS, you will have to look to his unit of competency there for the forklift driving, the one that you've selected for him, and that comes from your questionnaire in week 1. So what we usually need to do when we're breaking it into manageable time frames, we look at the time frames from the organisational needs. So does John need to be driving a forklift as soon as possible, or could Mike, his boss, hire some subcontractors that are already licensed in the interim? He has language literacy and numeracy needs, so perhaps we can negotiate a bit of a longer time there for him to give him that support. Is there specifics about downtime for his training? And what downtime means is times of the week or times of the day that production slows down. So perhaps, we could do some blended learning with John, and part of it's on some webcasts and the assessment portion, perhaps. And that those initial procedures, I would really suggest, with forklifts being as dangerous as they are, you would need all face-to-face, but there might be specific times of the day, between a shift changeover when there really isn't as many people, they're all at a toolbox meeting or something. So just find out that information from the line managers. So you need to create a training and assessment strategy for Susan and one for John. I've suggested how you might want to adjust it for Susan, but we will bring that up in a minute. Let's get that now. We're looking at these, segmented task scheduler. Okay, so here's the current one that you would be downloading. So obviously to change it for John, you would put his training package title in there with the forklift license. You'd probably want to change the date, leave the RTO the same. So pretty much all of the beginning information is the same. Oops. This isn't a qualification, this is a license, so you'd be putting NA and wiping out, just in this section under other notes, just put, license. You would just put the code of the training package, the title of the training package, and you would be ticking license, leaving the rest blank. Sorry about the scrolling, it won't allow me to just automatically page down. And you would be putting the description from the training package about the licensing requirements. That was actually a lesson bite from last week. So you look in this section between elements 2 and 5. So we'll go back to week 1. Getting a bit sluggish. Here we go. So week 1, you can see, elements 2 to 5. So you'd actually click on there and look at the licensing requirements. Alternately, there was that Word document that had, each of those separate elements in there. So I would suggest, if you need a bit of revision on that, look back at your unit of competency element and performance criterion, look at the section on licensing requirements, and then go to the relevant YouTube bite, which you will see there from your emails. So just moving back through the rest of that training and assessment strategy. So your target participants are, it is John. It's not, it's a specific course for him. Apologies about the scrolling. Course delivery 2.1 would be work in industry. So that would be, working in the workplace. And you would actually put there under location, it would be at John's place of work. Okay, now this is where we would have to plan for the duration. So because we aren't experts, it is quite acceptable just to leave this section blank, or TBA for to be advised. Mode of delivery will be face-to-face for John. Most of Susan's won't have to change. And then there's study pathways. Well, you can actually go and look on www.training.gov.au, and when you look at that license, let's actually just do it now. We'll go back to the home page. We can see some other pathways for John, some future learnings. So we'll go to some of the qualifications. Let's just go back to the units of competency. License to operate a forklift truck. Which one was it? I guess you'll have to decide. That was part of your work last week. If you are picking W2E4.1 license to operate an order picking forklift truck, you can see some of the pathways mean that he could get some qualifications along the way. Alright, so depending if he was in warehousing, if he was in road transport, we'll just assume that he's in warehousing. So you can actually go and see, perhaps it was actually the other unit that you selected for him. Could have been this one, operate a forklift. And you could go down to look at the pathways available and where that particular training package is part of a qualification. So there we go, there's some pathways that you could perhaps suggest for John. So we'll go back into that. You can see that these were the pathways for Susan. And if there was any employment pathways. So once you've perhaps selected a couple of those from training.gov.au, you would actually go into one of those. I'll just say Certificate 2 in Warehouse Training, Warehousing Operations. And you could actually go, this is the current version, we'll look in there. And see what sort of career opportunities he has. I'll let you pursue that. It's taking a minute to load, perhaps we'll come back to it. Oh, there we are. There's your employability skills. And just the packaging rules for that qualification. That's your Certificate 2. You've got quite a lot of elective units in there. This is getting a little bit off base, but you would actually look in that to look at job opportunities, but it would be quite fair to say in this case that excuse me, I'll just find it again. There we are. That employment pathways really is forklift operator, forklift driver. You find all of this information from your training package. Just leave that link in there, that's fine. Your RTO would have the employability skills summary, so that would be fine for John. And there wouldn't be, just put NA for recognition process, because any licensing needs to actually be seen and approved for forklifts. And I would leave that in for John as well. We recommend the Dragon software by Nuance, and that would help support him in his writing, so he can actually speak and it will record his voice and capture that if he's interested in investing in that. Physical resources, we'll have a think about that and how what you would list down as physical resources for John. You would definitely need a warehouse and you definitely need a pallet forklift, and that would be at his work site. It would be a standalone unit because it's not part of a qualification, it's just one core. And it does have here in weeks, so you could possibly change that and just break down from John's training package how you might want to have that broken down into manageable segments. This is the one where for Susan we'd start changing it from here to from weeks 5 through to week 8, you would just change that to RPO and credit transfer review. Don't worry about the rest of this. Just just wipe this one out for John and leave it in for Susan. This isn't part of the focus of this particular unit right now. Okay, so that would suffice, except to say that you could look at the superseded information for John, see what previous licenses there were, if you like. Not essential. And just add yourself to the staff matrix there. That's a definite one you'd want to put in for both John and for Susan. I apologise about the scrolling, it just won't let me just automatically send it down the page. Now we'll leave the industry consultations as what we've got there for Susan. You know about IBSA. There's some other industry organisations that Evoke is affiliated with, and you can just leave those for the moment for John. We won't get into that yet. When you're actually training as a specialist in your industry, you would know what industry associations to put in there. Pretty much leave everything as is there. Transition arrangements, that relates back to our earlier question on identifying changes to training packages 2.2. So we've said that we're subscribed to training.gov.au and we've subscribed to VELG. So just leave that as is. That's where we subscribed and we actually ticked about notifying us of any changes.